Greetings, greetings, greetings.
Greetings. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. It's
Welcome.
Cinco de Mayo. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say welcome to Maat Temple of Elevation. Um, Glad to see y'all with us. Although we can't see y'all, y'all can see us, but we feel y'all. We feel your presence. So, what you said, Cinco de Mayo? What is that? Because I heard that some Latino people don't acknowledge that. That most people don't understand what it really is. Do you understand what Cinco de Mayo really is?
Honestly, it's traditionally to celebrate the Mexicans' a victory in the battle. I think it was in 1863 when they were fighting France, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, and the Americans were like a part of it, but it's not a I just said it because I know like a lot of people are focused on that, but that's not what we're talking about today, for sure.
Okay. Well, let's open up with the prayer,
Yes.
if you may grace us.
Okay. I was not prepared, but I'll go ahead and do it because you requested, sir. So, everyone, I want you to close your eyes and imagine yourself in perfect grace, knowing that God, Creator, Mother Earth, Universe, Allah, that which you recognize as divine, is with you and within you. May the messages shared today elevate and uplift, and may that energy be carried forth through you through the rest of this month in your unique and blessed expression. And so it is. Amen and Ashe.
Ashe.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome Sunday. Awesome. So what's next?
Well, peace to Deltra. She's in the house. I see.
Hey, good morning.
Peace to
Kamal, brother
Miles.
Kamal.
Miles in the building. Peace and blessings. Peace and blessings. Well, first let's go on and do our due diligence.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And please, guys, share this live. If you're getting comfortable, go get your hot tea, your coffee, or whatever you're doing. If you're in the gym, secure your earbuds. If you're out and about or whatever, just get ready to hear a message. We're not going to be before you long, but share this with your friends, someone that may need an uplifting message to start their month off. Please tag them in this live or share it with them. Thank you.
Yes, yes. So we come before you in the mind state of elevation, standing on a strong legacy of spiritual masters, healers, and powerful prayer warriors. We acknowledge our connection to Source and our honored and elevated ancestors. We are humble servants of the community. May we be properly guided with every word that we speak. Ashe.
Ashe and amen.
So yeah, we're
Gonna get started.
since this is the our monthly service. Although we are on here weekly, we typically once a month gather in person. But today we're doing it online. But so as is customary, I will read our mission statement and then go over our 11 precepts before we get into today's topic. Just so everyone that is watching and listening to us is very aware of the work that we're here to do. So our mission statement is to build and maintain a strong family and community support structure that fosters spiritual elevation, optimal living, and respect among Black people in the Black local community and worldwide. to inspire, uplift, and energize the spirit of the people to face life with enthusiasm, vigor, and gratitude. And so within our system, we have 11 precepts that we strive to demonstrate, live out, and make part of the characteristic of our Ma'at Temple of Elevation. So, precept number 1, we come in the spirit of Ma'at, which is love, truth, balance, reciprocity, and lawfulness, not lawlessness. Let me
Right.
not make that mistake. Lawfulness. We strive to affirmatively fulfill the 42 laws of Ma'at. We are here to create a safe space for fellowship, or this is number 2. We are here to create a safe space for fellowship, healing, spiritual upliftment, and emotional support. Number 3, we shall demonstrate high respect for one another is of top priority. Number 4, we exercise mindful and heart-centered communications. Communication is sacred to building and sustaining harmonious relationships. Number 5, we equally value, honor, and respect all children, women, and men, and we prioritize family and community. Number 6, we cherish our beloved ancestors. We call their names, petition their guidance and assistance, energize them, and pay homage. For we know, although they are not in the physical, they are still with us. Number 7, we promote spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical health, always reaching for our most optimal state of well-being. Number 8, we acknowledge the one supreme creator of all, who goes by many names, references, and variations, always respecting and honoring the various spiritual denominations, institutions, sects, and houses established and worshipped by our people throughout time. Number 9, we cherish our elders and value their wisdom. We strive to support and care for them in the best ways we can. Number 10, we celebrate and appreciate our existence. We celebrate and appreciate everyone in our families and community. We celebrate and appreciate friendship, brotherhood, sisterhood, childhood, familyhood, and communityhood. The hood is our covering. Number 11, we know that unity and cooperation is the reality of our existence. We know we need one another. And with our supreme creator and beloved ancestors at the center of everything we do, we can take good care of each other throughout the journey of this life that we share. Ashe. Hey, babe, you're on mute.
Oh, that's right. Sorry. Yes, yes. So one of the things that I'm hoping that we will continue to do is create a space where we can start measuring our heart to a feather in terms of the way that we speak to one another, the way
Yes.
that we seek to understand each other, that we show respect. And I think that's very important as we continue to build community. I am a part of a collective that will be giving a series of monologues, and as the backdrop of it is an exhibition of a quilt. And as African Americans, we understand that quilt making is something that is very intrinsic to the African American experience. And it's the idea of taking something that has been useful and that may be considered discardable, but joined together to make something bigger for covering, for comfort, for beauty and expression. And I think that as a community, this is where we are being led to come together and bring our gifts, our talents, our beauty, and knit them together or stitch them together to make something that is beautiful and powerful. for the community. And the community is so vast and so large and so diverse, but we are still yet one love in the need to be seen, to be heard, and to be loved. And that to me is the thread that we should use to create this wonderful quilt.
Beautiful, beautiful. All in the spirit of Maat,
That's right.
you know.
That's
And
right.
you know, I don't know if everyone can see the logo Shanita Maat up in the right hand corner of the screen, or you can
Mm-hmm.
look in my background, Kenda's background, or the general background. Our
Mm-hmm.
logo, Maat Temple of Elevation. Um, Mama Maat, you know, she gave us a legacy of love, giving,
Mm-hmm.
service to the community, spirit, support, encouragement, um, all of those things that nurture people into growth. You know, respect is definitely one of them. You know, one of the things that I really benefited from Mama Maat was her presence, just always being there and always
Yes.
having a uplifted and encouraging spirit, you know, to offer us to keep moving in the positive direction that we were moving. And I think that, you know, we can give people things and we can leave a legacy of, you know, material things um to our children. And that's wonderful. And we should do that. Um and we pray that we all are all capable of leaving the legacy of, you know, resources for our future generations to build upon.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that the most important legacy that we want to leave is the legacy of character, the legacy of the quality of energy that can be remembered, because material things, they're going to waste away, they're going to deteriorate, they're going to change form, they're going to disappear. But when you give certain energetic qualities, spiritual qualities, um, character qualities, and values, those things never die as long as we keep them alive within the way that we think and the way that we behave. And to me, that's the most important legacy to be passed on. And I know that I stand on a strong foundation that my parents laid for me,
Mm-hmm. That's
you
right.
know, just demonstrating uh, good character. As in Yoruba culture, some people call it Iwa Pele, good character. And that's like your reputation and your name is worth more than gold,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because every child wants to be able to stand on a legacy that their parents passed on to them very proudly. You know, so we pray that we don't ever extend shame to our future generations by things that we may do, you know. So part of that, you know, laying that foundation, and you're going to speak on that, so I'm not going to go into what you're going to speak on.
No, you're fine. I'm listening.
But
I think that all ties into our theme of love, caring, and sharing. You're getting to there. You're perfectly fine, my love. Keep going.
yes, yes. So that foundation of that foundation is laid in big part by communication. Oh, thank you. Who said that? You're a true example of good character, Cindy.
Oh, thank you.
I don't know who LOL is, but thank you. Um,
Yeah, thank you. I don't know who that is either, but peace.
so communication, like in our system, we call mindful communications a sacred
What
opportunity.
system, babe. You need to let them know.
A sacred opportunity system.
System. Yes.
We have various parts of it. One part is Kenda's Joy Factor system and my Raise Level Mandate system. And so we have 11 social directives as a part of that. And one of the social directives is called Mindful Communications, a Sacred Opportunity. Because every time that we engage with one another, it's a sacred opportunity. Because just like you all are listening to the sound of our voice now, you're listening to words. These are ideas that are seeds that you are being receptive to, that we are planting into you. And so, that's why we say, may we be properly guided with every word that we speak, so that we can speak things that are helpful, beneficial, uplifting, encouraging, food for you to nourish. So we have to be mindful of the things that we say. So mindful communication is a sacred opportunity. Now, I humbly admit I am not the perfect example of that all the time, because sometimes I may slip in my mindfulness. But that's why we practice. Although I love Allen Iverson, practice is very important. Yeah, we're talking about practice, because every day is a game. You're playing the game of life every day, you see. But we have to practice playing the game. And so we meditate and we prepare ourselves. We imagine certain scenarios that, that life has presented to us. And we imagine us responding personally in a way that is in alignment with Maat, And so, but then, when our communication, methods may not help to, hey, peace, Brother Jabari popped in magically.
Peace.
Like he came out the magic hat, like bam.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I've been here.
But yeah, communication is supposed to be, uplifting and fun and enjoyable. Now sometimes we got difficult things to talk about, right? But that's why, we speak about the law of mental disposition, or maybe even mental predisposition, mental and emotional disposition. Meaning, and that law states that the way that you start out in your mindset, your emotional state, your mental state, when you start a communication out will determine, meaning the way you start out mentally and emotionally will determine, or at least influence, the outcome of that communication. So if I have an issue that I must address, but I'm feeling angst about, I'm tense, I'm frustrated, I'm angry, but I have to communicate this with another person, they may, unless they're prompted to hear me vent, unless they understand that I'm venting, if I just hit them with a spontaneous vent because I'm frustrated, I'm angry, boom, 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 I may catch them off guard, and they may energetically respond in like fashion and bring it back to me. Bam, 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 bam. And next thing you know, we banging heads, because I started off my communication with a lack of mindfulness. However, there needs to be room for us to express our emotions. So it's ideal, like in the up-level communication system from the Progressive Love, our peoples over there, they developed the up-level communication system where they say, set container if you want to vent, so that you can prepare the listener for what you're about to say, so they are prepared not to take it personally, so that they don't feel attacked, so that they can get their ego in check and just be the witness, and they hear you, and then they can, decide to show empathy. You see, and so we find when we allow someone to be in that mind state first, and they're prepared, then they can hear you, and they can receive what you're saying.
Right.
And then when you feel heard, that soothes the beast, because you're venting your ego, you're venting your emotions, and it might not necessarily be the truth. It's just your truth. It's your opinion. It's how you feel. But everybody feelings, the way you feel is valid. You should be validated. You shouldn't be, shut down and rejected because you feel that way, because then you just going to feel unheard, and you're going to come at it stronger and stronger and stronger. And then y'all going to be up in there arguing. But we got to realize that when we have conversations, most of it is just our opinions. when we're having conversations on what we think about something. It's mostly just our opinions. And so we have to be aware that our opinions aren't necessarily the truth. It's not necessarily the whole story.
Mm-hmm.
So I did all that to say a big part of having healthy relationships is building that foundation on healthy communications, understanding who is speaking. Is it my higher self or is it my ego? And those who are listening have to be aware of who is speaking as well.
Ashe.
Okay.
So I wanted to drop that little tidbit. We started going over lessons from Mama and Maat, and I was just saying some things. That's where my whole thing that I just went through came from the character lessons from Mama and Maat. But I don't know if Brother Jabbar, you wanted to add anything to that.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to actually talk about, and I think I talked about it before, but I can't reiterate enough that, she was always dropping knowledge and information, even in the days where she was, severely sick. And, like I said, we would go into the hospital, with her, and she would just, start saying stuff like, and that was something that we really made a campaign off of. Well, you'll hear about a campaign that we have, and it was make the necessary adjustments. I think I talked to y'all about that many times before, and she started saying that a lot. Like in the hospital, I'm saying, like, please, like sometimes she would be like in pain, she would like, please make the necessary adjustments, like make the necessary adjustments. And me and my sister really caught on to it, and just started thinking about it just for everything in life, for everything that you're going through. You got to make the necessary adjustments, because if you don't adjust to what's going on, or make, you could fall because of it. Whatever is necessary. Whatever, it's almost like by any means necessary, you have to make those adjustments in order to make your life more smooth. Make it more smooth. You have to be willing to do whatever it is, whether it's beginning relationships, whether it's ending relationships, rather it's in order to make you be the best person that you possibly can be on this earth. And for, like I said, for anything, I even use it for. Even in barbering class and all, I tell them, like, you got to make the necessary adjustments. You see that this is not happening, this is not blending. We got a formula for it, and you have to make the necessary adjustments when it comes to life. And I would say also, me and my sister, and I'm actually gonna put this on. It's a video that I'm gonna put up, just to like. My mom is always in communication with me all the time. She's in my dreams all the time. Like it almost seemed like at least 3-4 times a week she's in my dreams. I don't remember all of them all the time. I know that she in there. And I'll be having to read, okay, yeah, she was there. Now what was she saying? So she's always there. But in my house, it was crazy because this chain, this piece that I have is a chain of Mama Maat, and her image. And I had this made, and then I got one made for my sister also. So it was funny because about a month ago, I was sitting at my table, and it's like right where the window is, and the sun actually beams in during this. Which I didn't know, but I was just sitting there, I was eating. And it was like I had the light out, and this right here was it was on my. I kept looking at the ceiling, like, what is this? Why is this light beaming off of the ceiling? Like, I couldn't figure it out, but I was eating, and I wasn't really paying attention too much. But I kept looking like, where is that coming from? And then I did start paying attention, and I'm looking like, how is it coming in? And then I realized that it was beaming directly off my chain. And it was beaming to the ceiling, and it was like a sun. It was like, it was like a sun that was on the ceiling. And I was and around, I was looking at the time, it was like around like between like 5:12, which is my birthday, 5:12 and like 5:20, somewhere around that time, where I guess the sun actually hits that part of the window during that time. So I said, I gotta get a picture of this, but I couldn't. By the time I got there, it was over with, and the sun had moved by then. But then I set my alarm the other day I was home on Monday and I set my alarm clock for like 5:10. And I said, I'm gonna sit at the same place and I'm gonna have the chain on and I'm gonna see what actually gonna happen during that time. So the crazy thing is, so I sat there and sure enough, I did it and it did start reflecting off. So then, I actually took a picture of it and I filmed a little bit of it so I can see, it was actually beaming with the sun and it was reflecting right off my chain. The crazy thing that makes it real crazy was that while I was doing that, my sister called me and she just called me and said, hey, what you doing? And I was trying to explain to her. I was like, well, look, I got to, like, when I sit by the window, like I was taking pictures because my chain, and like, and she was like, she said, what? Then she said, oh, I'm gonna call you right back. And so she called me right back on the phone. She was like on the video phone, and she was like laying on the couch, and she actually said, "Can you see that?" And she and what happened was her chain was beaming. You know what I'm saying? And it had the sun going. So she knew what I was talking about. I was like, "Wait, man, that's crazy." So her same chain. She's in East Baltimore. I'm in West Baltimore, but her same chain was beaming off of the ceiling with the same thing. She's like, yeah, because I was trying to figure out what was going on too. Like,
Wow.
where's this light coming from? So it was beaming off of her chain at the same time. But she was calling me. We had no clue. She didn't even know what I was talking about at first. But she was like, wait a minute, that's what you're talking about? And then we were just on the phone and it made like, yo, that's crazy. That
wow,
the sun is beaming off of both our chains to the ceiling, at the same time in two different parts of Baltimore, during that time. So, all that to say, going through that is that, what I'm saying, like we know that, Mama Maat, what I'm saying, is here, what I'm saying, and she letting us know any kind of way possible, what I'm saying, that spirit is here and, that God and light is still there. So we kind of like we laughing. It was a good feeling because it was like what's the chances of that happen? That we both got a chain on. We in two different parts of the and at the same time we both noticing this sun beaming off our chains hitting the ceiling, with the ceiling. I don't, to some that may be it may be crazy, but I look
No,
at
you know what it is. Don't even question it.
That's a beautiful that's a beautiful reflection.
Yeah.
And again, as a part of, as we continue
reflect
to
sun,
move,
reflect sun. Yep.
Yes,
Yeah.
reflect sun and a reflection. And
Yeah,
we,
right.
as the quote unquote conscious community, Black community, however you want to consider what you are, melanated people are spiritually bound with our ancestors.
Right.
We are conduits of the sun by ourselves.
Exactly.
And we are connected to our ancestors. So your mother letting you know that she is your guardian angel, which you already know, but for her to make her presence known is the beautiful testament. And we cannot stop to, we need to stop discarding the spiritual things. We need to not consider, we need to spiritually engage again.
Right. Definitely.
That was a beautiful share. I appreciate that.
No, thank you.
This morning.
Yes. So our theme for May, the Maat Temple of Elevations theme is love, caring, and sharing. I'm going to speak on the caring and sharing aspect right now. Ken is going to go, deeper into the love aspect. But one of the 11 social directives is from the Raise Level Mandate is caring and sharing, the ultimate game changer. Right. And so we have to look at that. Now, that may sound like, a little corny, caring is sharing, sharing is caring type of thing. It may sound a little corny, but when you add that, it's the ultimate game changer.
Come on now.
That adds a lot of power and strength to the idea.
That's right.
So me just caring and sharing changes the game. Yeah, because giving to one another changes the game. Because when we think of the issues that we have as a community, right? As a group of people. All of our issues can be solved when you think about them if we would just truly, sincerely care for each other and share with each other.
Right.
You know, if we truly would care for one another's needs, and if our disposition and our mindset is, let's take care of each other. Like we can say our mission statement as an entire people is take care of each other. Now, if we take good care of each other and we raise our children with that idea, and that idea circulates around the community, every household, we make sure everybody all right. You all right? You all right? You good? Jabari, you good? Kendall, you good? What you need? You need something? How can I help? If we really had that spirit and we come outside of just our little personal space and extend to one another, and that becomes a real culture, then everything and everyone will be all right, because it's going to cause us to deal with the smallest things to the largest things. And we're going to, because we care enough, that creative spirit is going to create ideas and solutions to the bigger problems, you see. So I want to share the directive, if I may. I won't be long, but I plan on being strong. So, raise the level. This is the ultimate. Through caring and sharing, we will change the world. Oh, yes, the world is always changing. But through caring and sharing, we are able to change our experience exponentially. Swiftly, we will shift the momentum in the direction of the victorious, enlightened ones. Victory over sloth, lackadaisicalness, apathy, sluggishness, and boredom. Caring and sharing is the ultimate game changer. Caring is to show concern and to acknowledge that one another, or that another, is breathing air, circulating blood, and thinking thoughts. It's acknowledging the challenges of living that others are facing just as we are. It is sympathizing and empathizing with other conscious living beings that share space and time with us, that share this now moment opportunity with us to answer life's call to creativity. To care is to know that all is well, and to assist others in the knowing of this reality of well-being. Sometimes certain actions will take place, meaning we will demonstrate this well-being to others through our words and actions of compassion. We will show them how the world is constructed to energetically take care of itself, and how we can be the world's instruments by allowing ourselves to play the harmonious melody of togetherness and support.
Mm-hmm.
To care is to be right there next to one another in spirit and or body, working, playing, and figuring it out. It's to stay connected through the changes, the ups and the downs, the ease and the difficulty, fighting it out, playing it out together. It's a feeling of universal camaraderie. It is to stick, stay, and never turn away. Caring is an awesome state to behold. Be in a state of caring, always resonating with the awareness of our connection. To connect is to touch. To touch is to be felt. To feel is to be alive. Allow ourselves to feel. Embrace the feelings. Allow the energy of connection to flow through our beings. Don't be afraid of the flow, because the flow is you. It is us. The love that is felt, the caring that is transferred from one being to another is us. It is who we are. Caring is having an open mind and heart. To be in this state, we must relieve ourselves of the pressure of the ego and allow abundant energy to flow through. It is a feeling of ecstatic exuberance to free ourselves of contention, to become uninhibited in our expression of love, togetherness, and support. Caring is actively supporting one another's dreams, desires, aspirations, and well-being, all the while trusting, feeling, and knowing that we are being actively supported as well. Now, share that. Let's share our care. Let's spread our caring to others as far and as wide as possible. Let's share one another's apparent burdens and transform the apparent burdens into life's joyful offering of opportunity to create on new and expanded levels. Let's break bread together. Let's have a feast, a celebration, and drink from the same cups of joyfully related interdependence. Be in the state of caring and in the act of sharing. Sharing is the outgrowth of caring. If caring is yin, then sharing is yang. They're complementary, but the same. As we care, we share. There is no sharing without caring. Sharing is the act of giving a part of ourselves to others and not expecting to receive that part back that we gave because we don't perceive it as a loss. Instead, we see that we added on to the person's experience of well-being by adding to them a part of us that is priceless and can never be returned. It can never be returned because what we offered to them was our best quality of the moment.
Right.
We could never be given back that time, that moment. We can only move forward with more caring and sharing opportunities. And that's how we become energized indefinitely. We gain inexhaustible energy, a steady influx of vigor and vitality, creative ideas, support, and well wishes from all around us, visible and invisible. The steady influx is due to our endless openness to give of ourselves, to extend our best to those who we care for. And we care for everyone in some way or another. We bless everyone with the greatest intentions of well-being and good-natured happiness because we can see and feel that which is always available to us: joy, peace, love, and well-being. So our joyful creative play is to ultimately share our state of caring with the world, helping to communicate the universe's favorite, most powerful mantra: everything is all right. And that is how we raise the level.
I love it. Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Yeah, ultimately, we are one. We are constantly reflecting one another. And what we seek is seeking us if we are able to leave ourselves open to it. And that can be very scary. That can be very dangerous because we have been open so many times. But the only way is through. Am I right?
Yes. And it's a practice. You know, the more we practice sharing and caring, the better we get at it.
It's true.
Okay.
So I want to introduce my lovely Kenda, who needs no introduction, you know. However, I feel personally, I mean, I'm biased. Of course I'm biased, but I feel personally that Kenda is the embodiment of love.
Oh, why are you laughing, Jabari? I'm hurt you. What's up?
Now, you know, because she demonstrates that every day. And I know I've said this before, but you know, you can't get off the phone with Kenda without saying I love you, because you know she gonna get her I love you in.
Mushy and Terry out on here, man.
I know, man. I know, but it's a constant reminder of love from Kenda. Always expressing concern about people. Always seeing if everybody is okay. You know, and this is a person that I can sincerely say sincerely feels this way. She's sincerely, genuinely concerned about everyone's well-being.
No, we aren't.
She wants everyone to know that she loves you, you know. And me, you know, I'm like, oh, I ain't gotta say I love you every daggone time I get off the phone. You know I love you. You know I love. But now, you know, I have adjusted. I've made the adjustment to now I say I love you every time I get off the phone. And she has me saying it more to, you know, my children and also to my parents and other family members. You know, honestly, I believe we say I love you more because of Kenda.
Oh, thank you. And I say that, no, and I say that to my friends. You know, so I'm not trying to emotionally bully you as a man to demand that you say I love you back. And I think that sometimes that is like interpreted by in certain circumstances.
I know. I know. Sometimes I feel like, well, not used to. I used to feel like I'm forced, man. Can't force nobody to say I love you, but she's not trying to force me. It's just something that
Right, that's how I
Whatever.
feel right now, man. Yeah, yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah,
well,
yeah, just
I
feeling
mean, I
good.
don't say I love you to my friends all the time. It's every now and again, because if I say that all the time, I think they're gonna be looking at me weird, like,
Hmm. You're right.
you know, I ain't.
I
All
understand.
right, bro, I get it, bro. You know, but because I'm not all mushy like that all the time. You know,
Hmm.
But you are
but
right now. Y'all got me all teary eyed over here, man. You know what I mean?
that's that's because you got a lot of love in you, brother, and that love trying to come out in the form of tears right now, brother.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But I said all that just to say that this topic this month, this theme, love, caring, and sharing, Kenna's going to take us more into that right now, and
Hmm.
so here we are, and here we go.
Thank you so much for the wonderful introduction. So, this, what I am about to share, was something that I was going to share in person, and it was more focused on mothers and motherhood. So, I'm going to adjust it a little bit because we are online, and I hope that we will continue to talk about love throughout this month in general. So I'm going to open up by sharing that I was online and I was watching these different stories. And anyone who knows me knows that I am a cultural sociologist first, meaning that I'm the type of person that loves to look at the news, memes, trending topics, not so much to gossip or to get into the flares and the issues and the messiness of it. While it can be entertaining, I'm always looking for the higher message, or the mirror, as I like to call it, of what I may learn or see of myself. So I say that to say I was going through online and I saw this debate about men versus bear, man versus bear. And this is not to start any type of a debate to validate the statements or anything, but more so to look at what it's saying. And so someone somewhere posted a question: would you, if you, it, to women, and they said, if you were alone in the woods walking, and would you rather come across a bear or a man? Now, I polled my friends, and my friends said a man. Oh my God, what? Not a bear. But I wouldn't want to encounter a bear before a man. But as I went further online, I saw that there were a lot of women that were saying they would choose a bear and listing all the reasons why. And I said, where is the love? There is a level of distrust, um, of the love and compassion and care of a man. And the men were offended because they're like, oh my God, you would trust an animal versus um, me. And I think that rather than us debating if it makes sense or not, if us arguing about the way someone sees another, we can look at it as we need to talk. We need to have a sobering conversation of the way that we are loving each other, how we are feeling cared for, how we are feeling that things are being shared with us. And so I said, okay, that sounds good, but why am I getting this to wrap into this message? And then it said, well, as a Black woman, how would you touch upon this? And then I heard Sojourner Truth, Ain't I a Woman, come into my mind about the idea and the love, caring and sharing. And even though this speech that I'm about to share is used often in circles for feminist standpoints, but to me, it reads more so of I really want love through the respect and the opportunity to love and to show up for you. And I'm going to read this, and I want you guys to listen as I read Ain't I a Woman? And this was first shared in 1851 at the Women's Convention in Akron, Ohio. And she says, well, children, where there is so much racket, there must be something out of kilter. I think that twixt the Negroes of the South and the women of the North all talking about rights. The white men being a fix pretty soon. But what's all this here talking about? The man over there says that women need to be helped into carriages and lifted over ditches and to have the best place everywhere. Nobody ever helps me into carriages or over mud puddles or gives me any best place. Ain't I a woman? Look at me. Look at my arms. I have plowed and planted and gathered into barns, and no man could head me. Ain't I a woman? I can work as much and eat as much as a man when I could get it and bear the lash as well. Ain't I a woman? I have borne 13 children and seen most all sold off to slavery. And when I cried out with my mother's grief, none but Jesus heard me. And ain't I a woman? Then they talk about these things, this thing in the head, what they call it, intellect. Yes, that's it, honey. What's that got to do with women's rights or the Negro's rights? If my cup won't hold but a pint and yours holds a quart, wouldn't you be mean not to let me have a little, have my little half measure full? Then that little man in black there, he says women can't have as much rights as men because Christ wasn't a woman. Where did your Christ come from? Where did your Christ come from? From God and a woman. Man had nothing to do with it. This by your book, not by mine. If the first woman God ever made was strong enough to turn the world upside down all alone, then women together ought to be able to turn it back and get it right side up again. And now they is asking to do it side by side. The men better let them. Obliged to you for hearing me. And now old Sojourner ain't got nothing more to say. And I said, how am I supposed to wrap this around with love and caring and sharing?
That was good. That was good.
Stop
that was
it.
good. That was good.
So what I heard was not so much about the right to be a man or to have the rights, but we Black women, our love of caring and sharing has always been to support and love and honor our men, because we were with you We saw it, we felt it. We are sharing the pain, but we want to share the healing. We want to be loved. We want to get back to a place where love is healing one another, putting self back together. We want to be the Aset to your Aser. The man versus bear is a cry, if you will, to wanting to love and to be loved. The idea that we would even have a conversation about man versus bear says that there is a lack of trust and love, that the caring has not been shared, that the sharing has not essentially been intrinsically caring. When we look at our Set and our Seir, it's a beautiful story where the divine feminine did not judge her divine masculine as being defeated. She did not look at him in his broken pieces. She looked at the pieces of him, and she decided to get with her sisters and put him back together again. Arm, legs, head. But the one piece, the phallus, could not be found. It was said it was eaten by a crocodile. But rather than allow him to be castrated by society, to allow him, that's not going to throw me off. I'm trying, but it threw me off for 2 seconds. But for allowing him, that the world to castrate him, we want to bring you back. See, she created a phallus that created a beautiful hero, Heru. We need to start learning to come together. Let us heal you. You are more than your phallus to us. You are protection of the highest order. But we want to protect your heart as we want you to protect ours. When we talk about loving each other and the caring and the sharing of the mother, we, as my husband has shared, the woman is the first soldier. The mother puts her body on the line. Sometimes one time, sometimes several times. We take that which you give us and create something beautiful for you. Part of the love that we desire, that we call forth, that we want to ignite in you, is not to make you soft, but to make you strong. The children that we birth, we love and protect. We can't do anything without you. We can do a lot of things, but we really want to do them with you. And the way that we can bring this together is one of the scriptures that everyone loves to cite, but I don't think that they read it fully. And it's 1 Corinthians. Yes, I know my Africans, like, oh, she's not coming from the Bible. Yes, I am multifaceted, my friends. I am multifaceted because divine melanated hands and minds created everything. Everything our hands have touched upon and created, and that includes the Bible, whether it has been tampered with, miscombobulated, misexpressed, it's still a melanated text. And 1 Corinthians chapter 13, beginning at verse 4 says, love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud. Divine Mother, divine Father. When are we going to come together to do this? How? When? Today? It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Oh, Kenda, how are we going to do this? But he done did this. Well, she said that. Well, the man and the system and this. How are we supposed to get along and love each other? How are we supposed to do sharing and caring? Because of all the things that he has done to me, that she has done to me, as they have done to us. Because love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with truth. And that truth is divine mother, divine father, divine man, divine woman. What is the truth of you? What is the truth that you want to experience beyond that? It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always persevere. As long as there are women that are willing to birth children, it always protects, it always trusts, it always hopes, it always perseveres. There's no in between about it. And you are a crucial and important component. Love never ends. But as for prophecies, they will come to an end. As for tongues, they will cease. As for knowledge, it will come to an end. Yes, even knowledge will come to an end. Get out your head, get into your heart. For we know only in part, and we prophesy only in part. But when the complete comes, divine mother, divine father, divine woman, divine man, for we know only in part. And when the complete comes, the partial will come to an end. When the complete comes, the partial will come to an end. This partial, it and up, down. The scales of Maat will begin to balance. Because when I was the child, I spoke like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became an adult, I put an end to childish ways. Boom, 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 boom. Because what is the truth? Divine mother, divine father, divine woman, divine man. For now we see in a mirror divine mother, divine father, divine woman, divine man. For now we see in a mirror dimly, but then we will see what? Face to face. When I see you, I see me. When I see your pain, I see my pain. I get uncomfortable because I don't even know how to deal with mine, but you asking me to hold space for yours. How does that work? Because divine mother, divine father, divine woman, divine man, you are unto yourself. We all we got at that defined, definitive place. That's where community begins. That's where it begins. But then now I know only in part. Then I will know fully, even as I have been fully known. So again, I will know fully, even as I have been fully known. Reciprocity. And now faith, hope, and love abide. These three. And the greatest of these is love. So what I'm saying is that love is loving myself enough to be able to see you. Loving you is enough, is knowing, is allowing you to see me. The ego fall away. That is love. That is the love. When we are able to love ourselves enough to say that I'm hurting. When we love ourselves enough to understand that our trauma does not define who we are, but it gives context to where we are yet to go, then we can start to begin to heal that and see that and be that unto ourselves, so then we could share it with the world. And we need for you to begin to allow us to do that and reflect that back, because we love y'all. We love you. And we know you love us. You dig? And I'm finished for the day. That is my word for the day. Hello?
Oh, I was on mute.
Oh yeah,
I was saying.
Okay. All right. I'm done. I'm sorry. Yeah, so that's my word for the day.
Thank you. That was a powerful, nourishing, word and food that you gave.
definite. I mean, it's all about, like you said, it's all about the love. It's all about respecting each other, you know. And even to have, that man versus bear conversation is just crazy. But when we are people who've been oppressed and you start to take over the ways of the oppressor, and just to know that every little argument that comes to the internet, social media, let's be real clear. We know Simbi, that Tyrone Powers talked about a long time ago, that the FBI has a special unit that studies black people in general. Like, they study black people. Now they have social media units now that they have to make sure that they constantly have a riff, a beef going on with black men and black women, in the family, to make sure that we don't come together. So now all we got to do is really just control the internet. What's popular, like the Wizard of Oz, the color is gold, the color is gold now, you know what I'm saying? Then everybody's going to respond to it. Okay, let's create the hot topic for the day. We got the media on our, we're going to have them talk about black men is an animal, or whatever, you know what I'm saying? And people are going to respond to that. They can create the narrative for that. As Neely Fuller and Dr. Francis Cress Wells and Burshon, or many other people said, if you don't understand racism and white supremacy, everything else will confuse you. And tying that analysis into our problem and where we get a lot of this stuff, a lot of these things, and it keeps us going back and forth with each other. But it's supposed to happen. They talked about it with Willie Lynch, whether that was supposed to be authentic or not, or whether it's supposed to be true. We know that it is true. Divide and conquer. And as long as they keep us divided from one another, we'll be having these conversations over and over again, which we should have the conversations, but we should have the analysis to know that an enemy has done this. As it says in the Bible also, an enemy has done this. An enemy has tried to pin us against each other. An enemy has tried to keep us fighting and fussing, and so therefore we can't appreciate each other, because now we bought into their definitions of toxic masculinity or toxic femininity or whatever that we brought into it. And even even taking on a lot of the oppressive ways. So those black men or whatever, I mean, who have been horrible, who have done crazy things and emulating, imitating the oppressor, and those women who actually, now have started to, imitate, the white woman, and her struggle for, femininity and all those, all those, and, so yeah, so I
Mm-hmm.
just wanted to say, I mean, that's a great message of love and what we need, and we love the black woman, like you said. Semi said a long time. I mean, it reminded me last week when we first started our organization. It was called the Real, the Real Kings and Queens at the time. That was almost 30 years ago when we started that organization, and our logo was a black man and a black woman side by side on a throne, and we was called the real kings and queens. We the real, we gonna represent what this thing is really supposed to be about. And it was about the balance. I mean, he reminded me of that, what I'm saying, of that. And that's what we stood for, a lot of the times. And so yeah, so I just wanted to, bring that in, and that
Mm,
reflection from
I
the
appreciate that.
yeah, from your message.
No, I appreciate that. And the main thing that I want that, and it's very tempting because we we are choosing sometimes to be our own enemy within
Right.
ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And then that trickles down into not trusting and not loving. And again, every skin folk is not kinfolk. This I understand.
Right.
And we need to keep that mindful. We need to be mindful of that. But the main message of today is what I want to share is that the angst, the pain, the struggle, the desire for love, we all have it for one another.
Mm-hmm.
And to begin with love is patience, love is kind, and all of those things, it begins with having that with yourself. A lot of times we are not patient, we are not caring towards another people, we are not kind to others because we are within ourselves not kind, we're not patient with ourselves. And this is one way that we can begin to be able to love on another is begin to love ourselves a little bit more. And when I say love ourselves like a little more, it's not like spiritual bypassing or just saying, oh, being proactive with, you got to think positive thoughts. But those things are a part of it. We are alchemists. We are nine ether beings. We alchemize everything. Like I said, we take things that are discarded and make quilts. We were able to find weeds people thought were weeds of grass and collards and daffodils and made meals to feed our families. We were able to get that vitamin D and vitamin K to keep us strong. So if we can, and we also were together when uh, our children were taken out of our arms. We saw our men humiliated and not treated as the men and kings and queens and doctors, educators, scientists, healers, leaders, soldiers, educators, scholars, writers that they were, as well as the mothers, the wives, the doctors, the nurses, the feminine, the midwives. We saw all of that. We endured that with you together. Have no shame in that. We know you are men and know that we are women. We just had to plow and do it with y'all. But we didn't necessarily want to do it. But we love y'all. So that's it. Okay.
So, I don't know if it's the exact quote, but you said something about love yourself enough to see the other person. Um, I don't know if you
Somewhat.
remember
Yeah.
what you said. I don't remember the exact words,
I was
but
in flow, but I
that,
think that's
that
about right.
but that stood out to me because a lot of times we don't listen to one another, you know, and when you and I verse, we gain a greater understanding. The universe consists of you and I, and so we got to communicate, verse, communicate in order to come to an understanding, to see what someone else is going through, with their experiencing, and what they're understanding. So
Mm-hmm.
to me, every time, subjects like, man versus bear, I guess the women started that, sometimes men start, talking about something maybe with a catchy phrase or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
like Keegan was saying, talking about the drizzle drizzle movement,
Right.
that is an opportunity for us to listen to what's being said. You know,
And what's not being said, excuse me.
yeah, because like because I look at it, yeah, when women are saying they rather be with a bear in the woods than a man. Although, I don't take it literally, but maybe some women literally feel that way. But I think they're
Mm-hmm.
just doing it for shock value, just to communicate a message that, look, we feel a certain way about y'all right now, and it don't feel good, and we don't want to feel this way, so we talking about it. And so that's an opportunity to listen. You know, both men and women have to do that. And I think if we take the opportunity to hear what the other is saying and not be so defensive all the time, we can get to the root of issues. And a lot of times when someone is saying something, like they pointing a finger at you, and say you allow them to communicate and express themselves, they get that out, and they feel a little heard. They feel heard more. And then they may be open to you asking some questions about what they're feeling. And then in further exploration, a lot of times that person ends up reflecting and saying, you know what, I do see my contribution to this experience. But they don't ever get to that point when you invalidate what they feel as being false. Because a lot of times when someone is pointing the finger at us, we're thinking facts are not facts. What are the facts? This person is not saying things that are factual. And so we look at, instead of looking at the essence of how they're feeling, we look at a little tidbit of inaccuracy that they may mention in their expression. And we get on that. But that's a debate.
Right,
That's
right.
not a communication.
That's right.
I just wanted to add. That's why I said it's important to know whose struggle that you're getting involved in, because when we start to take on the ways of the oppressor, what I mean, a lot of women start to put themselves or align themselves up with destructive relationships, or getting in relationships where they're starting to get the same type of men over and over again. You know what I'm saying? I mean, look at some of the songs that came out. Got a rough neck, gotta get a rough neck. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? And they calling for these tough people. I know when I was in school, when I remember women coming to school, and they would, like, some of the girls who would get smacked by their boyfriends or beat up by their boyfriends, they looked at it like a badge, like this man really cared about them, because, I mean, he did hit her, and he would do those things. You know what I mean? And there's this feeling, like, even in the hood. I mean, it would be several girls that would be like, "Girl, what's his name? He knocked me all up under the bus today." You'd be like, and that's, what I mean, like, and they was laughing about it and talking about it. And I'm like, man, that's that's destructive. But I'm just saying, when you get caught into a certain vibe or a certain frequency, you know what I mean? So a lot of those women who may have been hurt may have said something like, "I'd rather be with the bed," who may have experienced some kind of trauma, or some of the ones who actually
Exactly.
picking the same men over and over again, that you got to get a certain, you might have to switch your type of man that you actually dealing with, if you can say, "I'd rather choose a bear." You feel what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Because then you looking for a certain type of man, and then once you get them, then you realize that you really don't want, that you really don't want it. So I'm just saying, a lot of it is making the necessary adjustments, you know what I'm saying, sometimes to realize, what I mean, what it is that you need, in general, because you may have a develop a taste for something that, what I mean, for a rougher type of, I guess, experience or whatever, you know.
Mm. Mm.
See, see
Yeah.
what?
Can I speak to that really quickly as a
Uh-huh.
woman, if you don't mind? So I hear you, and I agree. I agree that sometimes we as women do choose incorrect men. I think that men choose women that are not necessarily the best for them as well. And I think part of it again is this is why there is a need, in my opinion, for men and women to communicate better, to be able to be vulnerable and talk to one another, so that they can feel safe, so that they have better options. Even if there is a man that's a quote unquote good man, if he does not have the emotional bandwidth to support that woman in a healing journey, aside from money and sex, then eventually that's going to fade out and she's going to return to something that is dysfunctional or survival. So, again, when we talk about choosing these quote unquote wrong men, we need better options with the quote unquote good men that also incorporate the emotional bandwidth to support her. And also the brothers, working with the brothers that are abusers, and understanding that they have also learned a pattern of abuse
Of course.
and control,
Mm-hmm.
and taking the men underneath their wings and teaching them how to communicate their pain and their angst, how they can communicate to their woman, how they can be more mindful of who they are as kings and queens, fathers, mothers. We can cast away certain people that have certain functionalities and say, hey, they're the bad kids, and throw them over there. We're going to be over here. But at what point do we really start balancing out the emotional equity that is so that having equity and emotional intelligence and emotional like availability will have a woman, she will follow you to the moon more assured. If a woman follows a man on his goals, just because, imagine if a man taps into that woman's emotional needs, still being a man. We're not telling you to be soft and cry with her or whatever, but there might be some times when you may need to cry with her. But I think that's a necessity, and we as women have to create the spaces for our men where if they're feeling some type of way, can they cry and not be judged? Can they say that they're tired? It goes both ways. I'm done.
Right. And like what Jabari was talking about, with the creating of the type of climate in the culture, and them studying us and initiating or provoking certain what I see is like adversarial relationships between male and female, men and women. We have to begin to see, or at least remember, how unnatural it is for us to be adversaries.
Right.
Because when you think about it, we all we got in this planet. If like women is all men have, men is all women have, meaning we have no choice but to come together if we're going to procreate the human race. So we're here for each other. So it's no way that it makes sense that us getting together and having harmony is supposed to be this difficult.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's something unnatural that's in our minds, that's in our hearts and our emotions towards one another that makes it so difficult, because it ain't naturally this difficult. And in a lot of ways, taking things back to the basics, not complicating things so much and just accepting each other. And if we just realize that and remember that we all that we have, we need each other. So then my priority as a man, or our collective priority as males, should be to make sure our compliments are okay, and vice versa. And so, therefore, if there's disagreement and fighting, the first thing that has to happen is just stop the shit. Stop fighting. And I know that might seem very, very oversimplified. But if both commit to understanding how asinine it is for an entire gender to be fighting the complementary gender, that half makes it the whole, then we just gotta snap out of it. It's like we under a spell of conflict, and allow ourselves to get preoccupied with conflict against one another. You see, and so if I refuse to fight, like, I'm not gonna fight you. Yeah, I may disagree with you saying, but there has to be another way. And I'm thinking, from on a massive level, as far as males collectively and females collectively, and so we got to transcend this war. So we love ourselves enough to see each other. Meaning, I know that if I don't see you, if I don't understand you, and my experience with you in life is going to be riddled with conflict, that's going to be harmful to me. So then my priority is to gain an understanding. I'm talking about us as a collective. Men and women are in pain, and we just tossing this pain back and forth against each other. It's not everybody. Many of us have transcended it. Many of us work to harmonize. Many of us have, shaken this crap off. But it's so much in the media, it's easy to get caught up in it. And it adds on to just the toxic nature of the relationship. And we got to think future generations. Are we resolving this for the people coming after us? Are we just leaving all of this thing undealt with? All of these things undealt with, and it's just compounding.
Right.
And that stuff is transferred through the DNA. Just so you know, from a woman, the eggs that you were in, of course, your mother's womb, but you were also in your grandmother's womb. At least 3 generations of trauma and experiences have been birthed. The good stuff, the beautiful skin, the hips, the curvy hips, the way that you laugh, and the pain of not being heard, dreams, deterred, childbirth, pain. That's all in the woman's DNA. For the brothers, your father's father, that coding of struggle, wanting to be more than what society has told you to be. That's in your DNA. That compounding of anger and frustration and being held in. But guess what? We feel it too. Why can't we have empathy for each other for that common thread?
Can I just say, Brother Kamal wanted to know if he could jump in for a minute. Is that okay?
I mean, if we got time, we already an hour 24 minutes in, but yeah, I mean, I don't mind at all.
Okay. Let me put the link in for him. I just put the link in the chat. Come on.
Yeah, come through. We could chop it up.
Yeah, he's been a regular part of the media. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of the conversations that we've been having a lot of times. So, I like to hear his perspective, which I know his perspective is not far from what we talking about here
Okay.
today.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
anyone else that is watching it, ladies, so we can make sure that this is balanced, you're welcome to
yeah,
join as
definitely,
well
definitely,
then.
sisters. You can definitely hit the link. You know what I'm saying, if you want. You know what I'm saying. But it's all about, like it's like you said, it's all about healing. It's all about building. Uh, if there's power in our relationships, there's gonna be power in our community, and power for us to build in our community the things that we want to build. But as long as we stay, disunified, as long as we fighting and fussing with each other, that we could never build a community. We could never build families or our families back. We could never build our communities. That's just real talk.
Right.
It's just
And
that's
one
just real
thing,
talk.
oh, I'm sorry. And one thing I wanted to share as well is that for people that are not mothers or are choosing not to conceive children or have children, you still have a psychic, a psychic wound where you still create. Brothers, you have a psychic phallus that is able to create when create. So this is really about what we can do, whether we are bearing children or bearing the promises.
Come on, what's up, big bro? You got something to say?
Hey, what's going on? I didn't know if you could hear me or not. I was getting a crazy echo.
Hmm.
Oh no, we
Can
can
you
hear
hear
you.
me?
Yeah, I hear you.
What should I do? I'm still getting a delay.
You got more than one device on? Is your
Yeah, we can hear you good. I mean, I don't know what
Yeah, I
whatever's
heard
going
a
on is
bunch of stuff going in the background, but we can hear you.
Yeah, that's
sound
my
like you
my
have to
daughter.
do with something.
Yeah, it's a crazy delay.
You
So
wanna
I just wanted to
Won't
say
you go out and come
another
back in?
great episode as well, as usual rather.
Come out.
And
Won't you go out and come back in?
um, I agree with the the fruitlessness of the so-called battle between men and women. Um, it's going to reap no seed. But at the same time, I think both men and women have to speak out against BS when we see it. You know, I think there's so many hurtful things in the dialogue from both a man point and a woman's point of view. Men say things that are hurtful, and as good men, we should speak out to when brothers are speaking BS on women. And to the same degree, I think women should speak out when they hear BS coming from other women. And what's interesting is I actually took the topic to one of my friend group that have it's men and women from college, and the women didn't call it hurtful for women to say that about men. What they did was, and I think Kenda may have done the same thing, to say, well, why does a woman feel this way, and examine the hurt that maybe the woman is going through. Whereas I think the guys were expecting for that language to be rebuked, because clearly um, you would rather run into another human being than a bear. So I think we just if we could be mindful of that, and really this all comes from the society we live in, where, and Master Yatiyama talked about this, Sembi, and I, of course, have to give thanks to you and for Progressive Love for introducing me to Master Yatiyama, 15, 16 years ago. He said the feminine principle is lost on the planet. And now the major god, the god of the world, it's not even the US really nowadays, it's globally, is money and power. That is what the god is. And that principle is typically masculine. So I think everybody wants power and control, and the ability to concede power outside of yourself is, I think, what is really causing a lot of this. I think in general, men have began to distrust women in terms of acquisition of our resources through courts and such. And I think women, from my standpoint, have overvalued the masculine principle of leadership and have given up on the gentle nature of femininity, which exerts equal control over our the way we maneuver life, but it's different. It's not in your face. It can be in your face, as the sister read the poem, Ain't I a Woman Too? And of course, we've had strong sisters. Harriet Tubman once, she'd kill you than rather let you be a slave. So the feminine principle can be strong, but I think there may be an overvaluation of what typical male tendencies would be in this world, and I think that's a shame. Um, and on the other end, you have men who have resorted to living off women or being leeches. So I think the whole conversation is we all need to get our stuff together, but it's always that enemy that we've been talking about in their immature culture. We have a culture that's driven by the most immature group of people on the planet. And now their immature culture and ways of being and folkways and mores are now innate. And now I think again, we have to get away from the
Mm,
way that the colonizer, to call him, the way he thinks, and now the way the world is interpreting that thought process, and it's falling out in our relationships. And again, it's not just here. I have friends, I date women all over the world, and a lot of this stuff is not just in the states, man. The virus is getting global.
mm.
Thank you.
I thank you so much for sharing that those were some great points. And what I wanted to share, one of the things that I thought about was when you said that the God of this world or this plane is, you said, power and money, right? Or something to that effect. Am I correct, Kamal? Okay. Now, if anyone watched a show called American Gods on Stars, like, again, I am a cultural sociologist. So I was still going to continue because I wanted to ask them some follow-up questions, but okay. About it.
Come back in, man. She wanted to
I,
ask you something.
I mean, I wasn't going to argue or be contrary. That's not my mode today. But there's a show called American Gods. It was on Stars where they talked about the gods were money, power, technology, the bank, all of these things, and how people worshipped. They went from 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 worshiping these entities, sorry, or gods, if you will, and they started to worship the systems that gave them power and gave them money. And then as they started showing that the new gods or the newer ones coming up was social media, and basically they were driving the energy of the people. And when we talk about men and women and the different trials and things that we have gone through, um, I think that we need to look at who we match with the best, and not so much look at the traditional aspects of what we have tried to emulate, which I think kind of falls under white patriarchy, if you will. I think that because we have been brought into this country experiencing women and men working hard together or having equal, to me, pain, pressure from being in this country, it would behoove us to really look at that to say pain is pain. And the idea of being over someone or whatever, let's work on being together before we start worrying about who's in charge or who is on top. And that's for women and for men, in my like opinion. I think we need to start first again with the self-healing and looking at there's a systematic way that we are all being controlled, men and women. And the idea that the antiquated ways of money and the way that men made money, I think was horrible. That the men were made to go out to work and make the money, and the women sit back and laugh. Ha ha ha! I'm gonna be home. But we were doing work at the home as well. But we're at a time now where we have to leave room for these women that are also the workers, the builders, and the men that are that as well. That's all. I'm done. That's all.
Yeah, I just think that like when you say just come together, you know, we do have to have systems set up so that we can come together in, you know, whatever, regardless of whatever it may be. We have to have a system to come up in, because us just coming together with the mentality that we now have, you know, a lot of us are coming together and we still got that diabolical characters philosophy that we coming together under, and that's what's making us crash. You know, it's like, okay, we together, hey, we together, and then, you know, if you buy into whatever, you know, the social media thing is or whatever it is, these understandings, we come together and we clash, because we're not coming together under our ancient African understandings, but we're not coming together even, like I said, even if it was a traditional religion, you know what I mean, and you came together and y'all agreed on doing it that way, you know what I mean, it would work. I mean, some of those systems do work, but we
Yeah.
coming together now, and we just don't have a philosophy that we actually coming together. It's like, oh, we here, but the philosophy that we coming together on is under the so-called, I guess, white supremacy philosophy that we kind of brought in. When I say that, can you switch eyes? What I'm saying is the philosophy of our oppressors. You know, that's what I'm saying. So then we're losing, because this ain't working for us. This doesn't work for us. This system, this mode of thinking doesn't work for us. The individualistic mode of thinking does not work for us, and we got to get back to our cultural understanding. But we have to have a system that we coming together under, whatever that may be that we decide. It has to be a system. Any other sisters that's out there,
Yeah.
like, you know, because it's just Kendra in here, you know what I mean, that's in here right now. And we had some comments from Monica, you know, also, but you know what I'm saying, but anybody else that want to jump in here right quick, you know what I'm saying, you know, we like to
Yeah.
hear your voice too if you want to come
I
in.
mean,
And what is in the comments?
oh, thank
Hey,
you.
let me ask.
I feel safe and heard.
Let
I
me
just wanted to share, but
Okay.
thank you.
let me ask a question. What What do y'all think about, like, if we had, let's say, an annual community forum where, you know, as many responsible black men and women, and we have panel discussions on what the women need from the men and what the men need from the women, and how to best prepare younger males and females to exhibit these qualities, and say that, you know, we commit to organizing in groups, as far as, you know, the men organize various brotherhoods, the women organize various sisterhoods, and in these, you know, unique brotherhoods and sisterhoods, fashion them however you want. But what would unify us as a collective is a certain manhood code of ethics, honor, and behavior, and a womanhood code of devotion and ethics and behavior. And, and we agree to foster these things in these brotherhoods and sisterhoods. And then we keep coming together, you know, annually or twice a year or whatever, in these forums, charting, engaging the progress, you know, and we keep, like, in these forums, we can set a safe space for open communication. It can happen like over like a weekend. It can be, you know, how you have the hair care expos for like
We need a
Friday,
retreat.
Saturday, and
Mm-hmm.
Sunday. We can have a whole forum about this on a Friday, Saturday, and a Sunday, where we flesh out these things, and then we leave there with some type of solution based stuff that we take action on throughout the year.
I love that idea. And what I will add to that is that I think that as we, because there's already men's groups and there's women's groups that are already there, we can still create more. But what I would love, like I was talking about earlier about this quilt, the quilt, that we have all these different pieces that we bring together and we stitch it with love, with the thread of love and respect. And when we come together, I think that we should have a space where people can share their grievances and their pain in an authentic, safe space, i.e., up level or other tools, where we can start being able to listen to one another. And I think the women can start sharing how they're feeling authentically with one another, and the men do the same. And then on day two or day three, then we come together and start really fleshing out the real roots of it. You know, we can talk about, you know, systemic racism and all of those things. But what I want us to get to the root of is, in spite of these things, how are we going to choose to operate going further within this system as we break out of it and create our own? That's it.
Oh, okay, cool, cool, cool. I thought you said you had follow up question for
No, I thought
Oh,
I had said it, shared it
oh,
or
okay.
whatever. No, I wasn't like questioning, like debating and whatever. Like, yeah, so I got another question for you. No, I was just adding about um the show, because he had talked about the gods being money and power, and I was sharing that there's a show that shows that in a creative way, how people worship money and power, the banking system, war, and all of these things, and how now what the show was showing, that the gods are social media, your Facebooks, your Instagrams, your dating apps, and the very things that we were talking about. So that's all. And I wanted to know if he had seen it or not.
I did have one other follow up, and that it speaks to the resistance, right, of what submission might look from a woman to a man. So I think last week, Sister Kenda, you mentioned about getting away of the patriarchy and not having to hold on to old ways because they were old ways and embracing the new, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
my temple is called the New African Ministries, and it was based around us being new Africans, not exactly from the past, but not taking all the garbage from this world and creating a new path for Africans. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
totally in line with that. But I think I also understand, like, because I'm a devotee of Kemet as well, and so I think one of the basic principles that we talk about is we have to have some rules to this ish, and I think that's what Jabari keeps speaking to, that we have to
Mm-hmm.
have structure and rules, and I think we have to understand everyone submits in a different way, right? And it's not the I am man, like, ego driven. I need my woman to submit to me, but there's a give and take even in the relationship between Asa and Aset. Like Aset, even though she gave birth to Heru, Asa was still king. He
Mm-hmm.
still went through the land teaching and doing everything he needed to do, and he was king, undoubted, hands down. Now
Most
there's a
definitely.
there's a balance between the dance between the two. Clearly, there would be no life and salvation if it had not been for Aset. But
Mm-hmm.
Asar is still the king. He's
Right.
Nkosi, right? He is the
I agree.
Nesubiti. He is the king of kings,
Mm-hmm.
hands down. And so it is a dance that involves that relationship and trust between man and woman, because clearly, he was a favorite of the king who brought enlightenment and farming. He brought the seed. He brought
Mm-hmm.
cultivation and
Mm-hmm.
music and
Mm-hmm.
all those things.
Mm-hmm.
So I, I don't. I think the structure we need still involves leadership and submission. because the one reason that that has to happen, and we talk about in the natural world, is because when a woman is performing the thing that only the woman can do, the only thing that God has given her to do that we cannot do is to birth children. And when she is in that most vulnerable state with child or with baby, with fetus, and with
Mm-hmm.
young children, she is very, very vulnerable. And if nothing but for anything else, we need men around to protect our women when they are bringing life into the world. And for and not for us, we're older folks, we've done that kind of thing, but for that 10 or 12 years when you're bringing and bearing children,
Mm-hmm.
there has to be a unequivocal kind of allowance and trust in men to lead. And then, of course, a man is not going to lead and be a tyrant. He's if you're leading people who are totally unhappy with you, there's going to be some kind of revolution.
Right.
Like,
No, I get
what's
it.
better to sleep on the top of a roof than in the house of a quarrelsome woman? That's like
Mm-hmm.
3, 4 thousand years old when men knew, like, yeah, I can't just be being crazy because I got to
Right.
sleep in that house with that woman. So I think there's a dance, but I think the structure and leadership and reestablishment of men as leaders in the home and community is very, very valuable.
Mm. I
And
can
let me add on.
appreciate that. He respond. Gave me that. Okay, go ahead, babe. I wanted to share my responses. He had shared it with me first. Would you
No,
mind?
no, go ahead. Yeah, go
Would you
ahead.
mind? I appreciate it. Thank you so much. No. So let me share that I don't have any need or to be quote unquote the leader, right? So, and I think most women do not. I think whenever we talk about the idea of submission, it becomes cringy because, again, when I shared earlier, is that the emotional availability and support and empathy that women in this modern time need will lead the way for the type of submission that you are talking about. Um, Asair submitted to Aset to be healed. He did not argue or try because he was cut up. So sometimes, you know, Aset, she understood the mission and who he was, and she set forth to heal him. So when we talk about submission and submitting and the leadership, I don't think that most women will argue with a man to quote unquote lead. And I think that the very idea that it needs to be reiterated shows the emotional empathy and the need that women need from men that it appears that men are not comfortable dealing with. And I understand that you have to be in the masculine. We want you to be that way. We also want you to be the monk that is discerning, and we want you to be the leader, but the leader has a team. The leader confers and he takes ownership of the action, but he does not create the total plan, in my thinking. And in this modern time, as difficult and as challenging as this world is, it should be, in my opinion, all hands on deck. And the personal partners should figure out the rules of how they're going to operate, but we should have a framework to work from.
Yes, and um, beautifully said. And Kamal said something that was very important that I want to emphasize, and he said that it's a dance.
Mm-hmm.
It is a dance. It's not an argument, a fight, or a struggle. And so, anytime that we're arguing, fighting, and struggling about the roles of men and women or who should lead and who shouldn't lead, etc., then there's someone not being heard or feeling they're not heard. Because anytime when we arguing and we debating, going back and forth, and it's incessant and it's nonstop, at least one side is trying to insist on being heard. But in this instance, I think both sides are feeling unheard by the other side. You know, I mean, I think it's a problem that we have sides to talk about, you know, but it is a dance. And I think if we look at if we have that attitude when we relate to one another, that this is about us dancing. And, you know, it feels good to dance. You know, we in sync and we in rhythm. You know, my moves are complimenting her moves, you know, and yeah, and dancing is usually, you know, the masculine is leading, you know, but sometimes, you know, the feminine might lead for a second, and then you switch it back, you know, give everybody the opportunity to feel the different emphasis, you know. But the most important thing is we love to dance. Dancing is natural, it's expression, it releases energy, it releases pent up, blocked up, stagnant energy, and it elevates the vibration. You know, it's music. So, but we know if we caught up in the ego, both of us in the ego when we're dancing, and you know, I'm stepping on her toes, she's stepping on mine. You know, it's not a flow. You know, so right now we're not dancing. So we got to figure that out. You know, so that's why I say let's cease the argument. Like, I'm not going to tell my woman, I'm the leader, you follow. No, we have a certain interaction that naturally she knows
Yep.
that I'm leading in certain things.
Yep.
And she's leading in certain things. And we it's an understanding, because why? She has educated herself and she constantly holds herself accountable to her own self-cultivation as a woman and as a divine being. And I do that with myself as well. For there to be a dance, both dance partners have to learn the dance. You know, I can't do merengue with her if I don't understand merengue, if I don't know the steps and all of that. I can't be a good partner. I first have to practice and understand the nature of the dance, which means I got to study myself. I got to study the nature of relationships. I got to study the nature of myself as a man and her as a woman, so we can dance. But that the ignorance causes the fight. If I don't understand her and I think she should be a certain way, I'm coming at her with a lack of knowledge and a lack of understanding. That's the fight. That's the conflict. So many of us, especially people on social media, are doing all of this talking and going at each other, but they have limited understanding of one another. They lack grace, they lack compassion, and sometimes good common sense. Because I can run down a whole bunch of statistics about all of the things and the facts. The women do this and women need to do that, and women are doing this wrong. And then a woman can do the same exact thing and run down as many facts as what men are doing wrong. And then all we're going to be doing is just debating those facts. Like, okay, those are the facts. Now what should we do?
Oh. Amen. Yes, sir. And I just want to add that I love and adore my husband. I respect and I honor him. And I'm not just saying it online. This is how we actually live, where I'm not trying to overtake him. He acquiesced to leader and soldier, monk, negotiator. When he's in leader, then I acquiesce into devotee. When I see him as soldier, I step back and I get into conservationist and let him do his thing. When he's in monk and saying what needs to be done, I'm giving options, not telling him what to do, but giving him a balanced and respectful how. When he's out there trying to make it happen, I'm being loving and sweet and dancing to encourage him and let him know that he is the best that he can be. And the only way that we're able to do that is by seeing each other and not being who's in charge. So I submit to my husband because I submit to myself. You know,
Yeah.
it's like I can't submit to him when I have not submitted to the monkey mind. I mean, I have not made the monkey mind, put the monkey mind into submission. And I think we're all saying the same thing, but we're looking at different paths.
And
And I,
so I
I
guess the safer word is we cooperate together.
Cooperation and reciprocity.
definitely, definitely. And I just think that and all of this, everybody has the bear the label of leadership in certain ways. You know what I mean, within the house. You know what I mean, within certain things that they do. And I can always look at this stuff with analogies of sports and all those different things. It's like I mean when you really a good team, it's all about us winning. It's all about us coming up, coming up with the win at the end of the day. And those teams, that's the best teams, say Lamar Jackson and all, what I'm saying? They trust their quarterback. You know what I mean? Them guys, they go out and they play for him because they trust that he makes great calls. He makes good calls.
Mm-hmm.
See the field. He knows what's going on. But then you gonna play to the best of your ability when you in that field too. Whether you blocking, whether you a wide receiver, running back, or whatever. Because you're like, man, you know what I'm saying. And then they may come back to Lamar and tell him like, hey, look, you need to do this because such and such has happened. Then over top of Lamar is the coach. You know what I mean? There's a coach. You know what I mean? This is the system we talk about. You know what I'm saying? There's a coaching staff that sees even beyond what Lamar is seeing out on the field, and there's a whole, structure around, you know what I mean? But that's the same thing I'm talking about, like with a relationship. So again, you know what I'm saying? Yep, we got to make sure we have those structures in place that support us winning in general. And so that's what we have to join or create so that we can be able, the whole object is to win. And when we win, that means that our families are secure. That means that we are securing generational wealth for our people. We securing, we ready to pass the baton so that we can become, just to continue to build our families and keep our family structure healthy, or make our family structures healthy. I wanted to say, hit the like button, hit the share button. Please subscribe. I watch the big platform, Shannon Sharp and all of them. They say this all throughout the podcast. We didn't say it,
Mm-hmm.
but the more that you do that, the more we can continue to grow the platform. We hope that y'all are enjoying a lot of the conversation and things that we bring into the platform. So please, hit the like button, comment, hit the like button, and it helps us to grow this channel. Those donations, thank you, JT Rings. You know what I mean, with your donations, always JT Coin Rings. I'm sorry, always giving donations and all. Family. You can also donate to the Cash App. If you would like to donate to the Cash App, you can also donate to the channel, and we have some information running across the screen now. If you wanted to follow Mama Kenda and Brother Simbi, what I'm saying, on their own personal missions that they actually have also, and Brother Kamal, who's a regular on the channel, who's always giving information. Thank you, Queen Monica, for all your